Hello, guys. Welcome back to another live stream with On Point Politics. And today we're going to be looking at the electoral map once again. So make sure to go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to read chat here really quick before I continue. So let me see here. Never Ending Error says, let's go. We also have, we also have, we also have, let's see, John Federlin. Hit the like button, everyone. Hyper Rerun Jimmy Carter 2024. That guy he's like I think he's gonna turn 100 now, I think. Sarah Thomas, oh no. Hyper Rerun Bob Menendez, no, that would not be good. Tom Hare, Bob for Jail 2024. Ryan says we need to debate prior whenever early voting begins. Vote Trump. Is there a Democrats for Trump? Oh, like one of those pages that would be funny. Monica, oh god. Are we gonna win? When's the IRL live stream with Ready Go? I met him already. I already met Ready Go Politics. But guys, so at least for this week, I basically have a new setup. My uncle had a couple like things like a green screen and a stream deck and stuff. So like this week, I'm gonna be testing out how it looks and stuff and how I can use it to kind of up the quality of the streams. And if the engagement on the videos does well and stuff, I'm gonna probably end up investing in whatever he has here. So like now I can go over here actually. Let me actually go on this side. I don't know why it's showing you guys that. There we go. I believe now it should be good because I don't know why it was showing the OBS screen. Let me know if you guys can see the map. There it goes. Okay, so it just went through now. Okay. All right, perfect. So now I have this thing where I can toggle between all the tabs on the Stream Deck without having to use the mouse. And I can unmute it. I can also put you guys in the live stream as well. So that's pretty cool. So, and then I have the green screen. I have the chat on the screen as well. So definitely the quality of the streams has been up to like a little bit, but I'm going to be getting into the map now. So we are going to go over this today. So basically Kamala took the lead in the RCP aggregate as of right now, unfortunately. So currently she is up 0.2% in the average. She's barely ahead of Trump. Kennedy's polling at about 5.5% there. And we clearly see she's now in the lead in the five-way aggregate, which is, I like to use this better because it also has all the third-party candidates and stuff. So this is something I like to look at better. And this is the toss-up map that RCP has right now. So your video is delayed. Your audio is slightly ahead. Oh, hold on. Let me see. I might have to reset my camera. There we go. Yep. All right. Okay, there we go. Now it should be there we go. Now I think it should be fine. I just fixed it. I think let me know if the sync is good now. It should be fine. Cuz I just reset it now. Let me know if it's synced up, guys, in the chat. You guys can type in there, and now it should be in sync now. Okay, perfect. So it's fixed. All right. Well, either way, now we have it to where I can toggle between all the tabs very easily. So a lot of it's going to be a more dynamic, easier experience to kind of go through this now. And so pretty much, guys, for the safe red states right now, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, except Nebraska's second, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia, as well as South Carolina, are all in the safe Republican column. We also have currently Iowa and Ohio in this forecast. Right now, Iowa, as of right now, is a 16-point win for Trump, and Ohio's at 17 points. Obviously, these states have been kind of trending to the right for some time. And if Donald Trump, according to my model, he's winning the popular vote by around 2.8 percentage points. And so even if there's a couple of points shift, if we actually go over here, we'll clearly see that in, in this thing here, we clearly see that if we were to look at the national leaning of all these states, Iowa and Ohio are voting about 12 points to the right of the nation. And if so, Donald Trump shifts the national popular vote by 6.5 points, like I have, these would already be in the safe Republican column regardless. And so he would be winning these by safe margins if he wins the popular vote by 2.8%. And when it comes to people in the chat, because people are like, oh, why does my model have Trump winning over 300 electoral votes, even though the Electoral College is showing on most people's forecast that it's a closer race? The reason why is because this takes into account the approval rating difference, which tends to be a little bit more accurate. And also, we also have the fact that there's a big oversampling of Democrats on the national level right now. So polls are like oversampling Democrats by probably like 10 to 15 points. And so that's a big problem. And the model kind of accounts for that as best as possible, not with like any like error. And so let me see, James TV Nation, the audio is out of sync again. That's weird. On my end, it doesn't show it. It doesn't show it not synced. So I don't know what's going on. Even on my thing, it's not showing it. So I don't know why that would be the case. I just put it again, but it should be synced. It should be synced now. And I just went to go check it. It was already synced. Prove the oversampling. I mean, if you look at the crosstabs of all these new polls, you'll see that there's like 40% Democrat, 25% Republican, and 25% independent. If you go to the 2020 exit polls and you look at the sampling of by party that happened in 2020, there's no way that you're going to have a D plus 15 to 10 popular vote. And what happens is pollsters weigh it, but since their samples like D plus 20, they're going to get D plus 5, and it's not going to be D plus 5. If you look at 2020, the environment was actually D plus 1. It was 37% Democrat to 36% Republican. And with Donald Trump being more popular than what he was before, or almost as popular, and Democrats, especially Harris, is now even less popular despite her favorables going up, you clearly see that Harris's favorables are in the low 40s. She was in the high 50s on election day in 2020. So, really, we're probably not going to have a Democrat sample of that much. We also go ahead and we can clearly see here, if I believe we go to, where would this be? Hold on. Let me see, because I have this here. And if we go to, damn, I'm like, okay. So clearly with the sample, this only being D plus, okay, now I remembered what it was, Gallup. So if we go to Gallup and we look at party affiliation, we see as of right now for this month that most people are leaning a certain direction. We can actually see, let's see, we can look up identification. There it is. That's what I was looking for. If we look at the party identification, we can see that this is not the right page again. I don't know where it is, but either way, there is a page where you can actually see that Republicans are like 47%, Democrats are at like 40, and then the rest are basically undecided as of right now. So that's kind of where that stands as of the month of July. And so clearly, most of the electorate is shifting Republican. And we can even see now here that Republicans are at 30%. We clearly see that. Oh, wow. Put me all the way back. What the? Okay, here we go. I have to refresh this really quick. Okay, here it is. So Republicans are at 30%, Democrats are at 28%, and independents are at about 41. So it really wouldn't even make sense. And this Gallup poll has been going since 2004 and tends to be somewhat accurate. Like if we go to 2020 and we look at the numbers for November 5th, we'll see that Democrats were ahead by one. They had 31% and Republicans were at 30 and independents were about 38%. So the numbers tend to be somewhat accurate in terms of the spread, and Republicans are ahead by 2. And so a D plus 5 to D plus 10 national sample, which a lot of polls usually have those samples even after weighing, there's no way that we're going to have a D plus 5 to D plus 10 sample ever. That's like not going to happen this cycle because it's not even happened in 2016. 2016 was actually more Democrat. I think it was D plus 3 in 2016. And then in 2012, it was actually, I believe it was R plus 1, but Obama, or I think it was like, no, that's not what it was. It was like D plus 6 around there, but Romney actually won independence in 2012, so he was kind of able to narrow that party affiliation gap. And so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. There's really no way that we're going to have a D plus 5 to D plus 10 samples. So all those samples showing like Democrats D plus 5 to D plus 10, you could probably shift those to tied and it shows better results for Trump, which would be a more realistic sample. When we did our national poll, we basically have an electorate of R plus 2 when we weighed properly by party, and it showed Donald Trump up by 8 points. Now, when we do another national poll, we're actually going to be, kind of upping the quality of the methodology by doing it through voice interactive systems and things like that, pollsters that actually do. And speaking of polling, guys, if you look in the description down below, we have the link to the GoFundMe here for onpoint/SoCal research here. We are going to be raising more money now because the polling with the new methodology, it is a little bit more expensive, and so we do need as many hands on this as humanly possible. So you guys can take the time to go ahead and donate, create an account on GoFundMe, and just donate like $5 or $10. Any support would be greatly appreciated for this matter. As of right now, we are currently at 648. This GoFundMe is going to be kind of going through all the way past, until the November election. So this is going to be open. I'm not going to close it. So you guys can donate however much you want to donate. And I would greatly appreciate any support that you guys would be able to give. And so now we're going to go back to the map for the safe Democrat states. We have the state of California at 20 points for Harris. There was a new poll that had her ahead by 24 points. So even with new polling, you see that my model is not even that off. And that's accounting for possible oversampled Democrats and whatnot. For DC is also an 80-point win, and that kind of aligns with the fact that it really hasn't trended that much, and it would indicate a 6-point shift, because if we look at the last cycle, we'll actually see that the state voted by an 86-point margin in 2020, and if the popular vote's shifting around 6 points or a little bit more than that, clearly that shift is actually going to line up what we've seen there. With the states of Maryland and Massachusetts, we have Massachusetts at a 31-point victory for Harris, and Maryland would be at around 29.5 points. And the state of Vermont, as of right now, would be a 29-point victory in this forecast, which gets Harris just to 81 electoral college safe votes in that category, which is really not that good, because Joe Biden in the last cycle ended up getting a decent amount of safe electoral votes. He basically got Oregon, Washington, he got Illinois, New York. A lot of these northeastern states were a lot more deep blue, and that's what we're clearly not seeing that in this forecast right now. And so clearly she's underperforming, incumbent President Biden at this point in time based on that fact alone. Guys, I see about almost 500 of us are in the chat. So if you guys could hit the like button to help with the algorithm, I would greatly appreciate that. So make sure to go ahead and just hit the like button really quick. And so now with the likely Republican states, we currently have the state of Florida as a 13-point win, and we have the state of Texas in this forecast as a 12-point victory. And what's interesting about Florida is that we can actually look up a poll here that recently came out of 538. If we go ahead and look at this poll here from the state of Florida, I can pull it up here really quick from FAU, or this school. We actually have a +7 poll, but what's very interesting is that the electorate in this poll was roughly tied, except the problem is that's more than likely not going to be the case, because if we were to go to Florida exit polling, what's very interesting about the Florida exit polls in 2020 is if we go to them, we'll actually see that the electorate was R plus 8. There was about 38% Republicans, 30% Democrat, and 32% independents. So Republicans outvoted Democrats in the state of Florida by quite a bit. And this is when, guys, we had, the Democrats had a state advantage of 88,000 votes. Republicans are basically almost leading by a million votes in net registration in the state of Florida. And so to say that it's only going to be a tight electorate doesn't make any sense. If anything, the electorate here is probably going to be like R plus 12, R plus 13, and independents will probably break for Trump. So really, that should put the state in the safe category, but the forecast does have it going in the likely column. But just showing you guys that kind of proves that those states are really not going to be in play. And a lot of polling in Texas kind of has the same problems. Democrats tend to be oversampled way too much, especially in 2020. The polls were a little bit better with Biden and Trump. You didn't see as much oversampling, but you still kind of did see it. But with Harris, there is a big response bias. Democrats are enthused to vote for their new candidate, and so they're kind of flooding the polling data too much. And you get these really bad skews in the national average as well as the state polls. Now, if we look at the Rust Belt, or well, actually, we'll do North Carolina first. North Carolina is around a 6.6 percentage point victory, which would make sense because if we look at the past two cycles in North Carolina, it really hasn't trended anywhere. Even from 2012, it necessarily hasn't trended that much, to the left. It's trended like basically, I think it was like 3 points to the left in like 24 years. So it's slowly trending. And since the national environment is shifting around a little bit over 6 points, it would make sense for the state to be around a 6 point victory or so. So even based on historical trends, we're actually getting something pretty accurate from the model out of the state of North Carolina. Looking at, Alaska, that is going to be going in the likely column as well. And if we even look at the state's, partisan lean here, we'll see that the state at large voted to the right of the nation by 14 and a half points. But if we look at it 2012, you'll see that it was way redder. It was at 17 points to the right of the nation. And we even go to back, let's say 2004, even. We could go back to 2004, and you'll see that it's going to be voting even more to the right of the nation. See 23 points over 20 years. It's trended like 10, 15 points to the left. And that shift's going to continue. So even though Donald Trump is winning the popular vote by about 3 points, you are more than likely going to see him narrowly have this state, below the safe column. As of right now, it is a 14-point victory in the forecast. Guys, 600 of you guys are in here. Make sure to hit the like button. Please do not ghost watch the streams. I understand sometimes you'll forget to hit the like button, but if you could just go ahead and do that, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna look at chat really quick, even though there's no super chats, because I've seen there's a lot of engagement here. Kamala has sent Sential Chris says Kamala is Indian, not black. Jared Testerman, Guns Cod. Okay, what? Ross 5 2007 says Governor Sununu and Phil Scott for Trump and Vance. Chim Chim the monkey. Mala means okay. All right. Um Anthony Venny says East Texans for President Trump. He's going to do a lot better there. That's going to definitely influence it. And the southern border region is definitely going to help him as well. We can also see here Kim Pep, Kim Allah, so be enthusiastic and take everyone you know with you. Oh, okay, like in terms of voting and stuff like that. Lily Indigo said, vote is the word we have to vote. Ricky says, I'm dooming we are losing. No, we are not going to lose as of right now. EC says, like the chat. Thank you. Darian says, I worry Georgia. I guess that's what that's saying. Ruger 34, Freak Bob. Okay. Jaded McSwag says, is the money honeymoon phase starting to wear off? I mean, to an extent, yes. It's kind of starting to wear off a little bit, but it's still definitely in effect as of right now. Jerry Van, hey, Kamala's bump is still as expected. And I mean, Democrats have kind of been, oversampling the polls, and that's been kind of causing a problem overall with the polling data. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And we also see here, if we look at the state of Pennsylvania, we will see that Donald Trump right now in the forecast is winning it by the exact same margin as North Carolina. And if Donald Trump's winning the popular vote by 2.8, 6.6, that's like voting to the right of the nation by 3.8%. And the state's been trending like 2 to 3 points to the right. So here would actually be voting like it would trend to the right by like half a point. So even that is not an unrealistic forecast based on the state trends that we have. And the fact that Trump usually gets underestimated, and that's what the model is also taking into account as well. So as of right now, he is winning that by 6.6%. If we look at the state of Georgia in the forecast, we clearly see here the former president is winning the state by only 3 points. For whatever reason, Harris's favorables are looking really good here for whatever reason on civics, and that's kind of what I use. And the trends here are actually worse than Arizona. And so that is definitely causing the state to vote to the left. And Arizona, the spread there for Harris is horrible. She's down in favorability against Trump like 15. In Georgia, she's only down by like 6. And I guess the reason for that is that Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, they're kind of experiencing this thing where Harris's support is like kind of underinflated, or Trump's support is overinflated because of the southern border crisis. So that's what you may be seeing in the southwestern Sun Belt portion of the state. And Atlanta, Harris kind of energizing some, older black ladies in Atlanta is definitely going to kind of help her out. And that gender gap is probably going to expand as well. Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan's actually in the lean Republican column. Wisconsin right now is a 6.7 percentage point win. Again, the trend may be stagnant there this cycle for the most part. If we look at Michigan, it is a 4.8 percentage point win. It would probably trend like a half a point to the right, not synced for me. That's weird. Let me go ahead and fix it really quick again. I don't know why it's doing that. I'm going to try to work that out on the next stream and see why that's the case. But if we can go ahead now and look at this, we'll see Donald Trump is already winning the Electoral College. Main second is going to be in the likely column as well. Guys, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We're almost at 700 concurrent viewers. This is pretty crazy. So clearly people are enjoying the new setup that I have for the streams right now. And we see here, main second is almost safe, and then main's first is almost safe as well for the Democrats. We just passed 700 viewers currently. That is absolutely insane, guys. That is complete. That is awesome. That is really really cool. And we clearly see here for Arizona, as of right now, the forecast currently has the state as a 6 point victory for Trump, which that means the state would probably trend to the left by a point or so, which makes sense because the state relatively has been kind of trending in that direction for the past couple of years. The state of Nevada as well is currently trending to the right. It is an 8 point victory in this forecast, getting Donald Trump to 312 electoral college votes. And if we look at these states, Hawaii in this forecast is about a 14 point win or so. And a lot of people don't know this, but the state's actually been trending to the right by quite a bit. I mean, if you look at 2008, the state voted to the right or to the left of the nation roughly by 38 points in that cycle. And if we look at 2016, we'll see that the state basically voted 30 points to the left of the nation. And then in 2020, it was actually even worse. 2020, it only voted to the right of the nation or to the left of the nation by 25. So it's been trending like 5 to 15 points to the right every single cycle. And I'm expecting it because of the whole Maui fire situation that happened in Hawaii. I think it's going to trend to the right a little bit more than it has in previous cycles. And so that's why I have it right below the 15 point margin for Harris. We also have the state of Washington at 13 points for Harris. We have the state of Oregon at 11 points. Fortunately, we have Seattle, we have Portland. Those areas are kind of trending to the left by quite a large amount. And so that's kind of why we have that happening in that area of the country. Those states are trending far to the left. I would really tell the Trump campaign to not even worry about those. And if we look at Colorado, we see Trump is also losing that by 11 points too. So I wouldn't really tell him to focus there. If we look at Illinois, he's actually losing there by 10. So that state's actually trending to the right by quite a bit. believe it or not. It's been trending like 2 to 3 points to the right every cycle. Colorado is going up the deep end. So when it comes to like Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Illinois, I kind of don't expect him to win those this cycle anymore. We have Connecticut, Delaware, and Rhode Island in the likely category as well as the state of New Jersey, which was previously lean but is now an 8 point victory for Harris in this forecast. Virginia is at a 5.5 percentage point margin for Harris. So it's definitely kind of trending to the left as of right now. It's trending even more to the left than what it was in 2020, which is going to be a big problem for Republicans. So I would also tell them to not really focus here either. And the state of New York right now in this forecast is, in fact, if we go ahead and look at the margin here, it is a 13-point victory for Harris. And we actually have a poll for that. We actually do have a poll. We actually conducted a poll ourselves with SoCal Research, and it is the latest poll on the 538 site here. And we see that Harris is ahead by 11, and this was conducted on July 18th, and it is now basically August 4th. And so 2 weeks later, the margin is roughly pretty similar to what we had there before. And so that's why I think that that margin in the model would be fairly accurate to have. And now we kind of come down to the swing states of this election, being Minnesota, New Mexico, Nebraska, Maine at large, and New Hampshire. As of right now, with the kind of sugar high that Harris is having, New Mexico goes to her by about a point in this forecast. New Hampshire by 2 points. If we look at Maine at large, it's only going to Harris by 2. She's winning Minnesota by 1.5 and Nebraska's second congressional district. So as of right now, this is what the race is. The race is at 312 electoral college votes for Trump to Harris's 226. Now, you guys may be a little bit worried saying, oh my God, there's no way. Why did the race get so close from a couple months ago? Remember, Harris's polling has gotten a lot better, and I've been kind of testing the model that I developed over the past couple of months, and we see that the model has been pretty accurate in 2020. It only got Arizona and Georgia wrong, and so that's why I'm really telling people to not necessarily be too concerned, because he's still winning Wisconsin by over 5 points. Same thing for Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada, including North Carolina. And so a lot would have to happen for him to actually lose the election. The nationwide popular vote would have to shift a decent amount for him to actually lose the electoral college. If that were to happen, he'd basically have to be down in the national average by probably around 5 points to even like get close to losing it. Like he would have to be doing pretty bad in the popular vote. And then let's say Harris's favorables kind of catch up and she's ahead by 5. At that point, even if he's losing the popular vote by 2.5 points, he's still winning the electoral college because he has Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And Georgia is no longer in that column, neither is Arizona or Michigan. But if you were to actually get rid of those states for Trump, he actually ends up still winning the electoral college with 270 electoral votes regardless. And so if we were to go over here, let's try to find the scenario to see what he would have to be kind of behind on in order to lose the electoral college. Like the polling would have to get really bad for him to in order to even lose the election at this point. We could see here Nevada, North Carolina, Wisconsin. All right, guys, sorry about that. I had to cough again because it's like now it's like a running joke with the chat that now every time on stream I'm like coughing or whatever. Sometimes I like get caught up and I have to cough, but now with the stream deck, like as soon as I felt it, usually whenever I'm like coughing, I cough and then I have to go to OBS and then I have to hit the thing. But now with the stream deck, like once I felt it, I just hit the button and then that was it. So it wasn't like that big of a deal. But what I was talking about is that even if Trump loses Michigan, Georgia, and Arizona, there's basically that's still Trump is still at 270. He would have to be losing in the model and the aggregates like pretty bad. He would have to be down in the national average by about probably like 6.5 points, I'd say. That's probably what he would have to be down by, and I doubt that's gonna happen. I really doubt it. I don't think that's I don't think that's gonna end up being the case. I don't think she's going to catch up or take over the lead by that much. So we also see here, let's look at chat really quick. We have Democratic Party is really pathetic. Blue do you think Pennsylvania is blue if Kamala picks Shapiro? No, I don't think that that's going to happen. That's never happened in presidential politics. You've never had a scenario where Trump or anybody has picked the VP that's won a candidate a state. Like that usually does not happen. Like that really doesn't happen. Like it's not localized to one state. The support is region based. So Vance will help out Trump a little bit in the Rust Belt, but it's not going to help him out in just Ohio the same way with Josh Shapiro. And here's the bad part about Josh Shapiro. If he were to somehow flip Pennsylvania for Harris, that means that his support base in Pennsylvania is so strong that his appeal is only to Pennsylvania. Like if all his support is concentrated there, Trump probably loses, or Trump would probably win Wisconsin and Michigan anyway, because there's basically like that would mean all his support would just be local to Pennsylvania at that point. And so he would really have no appeal anywhere else. That's why Youngkin wouldn't have been a smart pick, because more than likely a lot of his appeal would have been just to Virginia, and he probably wouldn't have even flipped Virginia to Trump regardless. Like Trump himself would have needed to have been the reason for that to have even flipped anyway. And so that's why whenever people kind of talk about that, it kind of annoys me, because that's really not the case at all, to be honest. Let me see. Charles, this map seems like straight copium. I mean, Harris is barely ahead in the aggregate. She's ahead by 0.2%. Biden on the same day 4 years ago was ahead by 7 points, and Biden won the popular vote by 4.5. And so, if you were to look at the average shift, that's a shift of like 7.2% from 2020. So, if anything, Trump probably is actually winning the popular vote by a little bit over 3 points. And at that point, he's more than likely winning all the swing states fairly easily. He would still be winning all the swing states. She probably has to win the popular vote by at least 3 in order to win the electoral college. And that is not the case right now whatsoever. And that's with Democrats oversampling the aggregate. And she's still barely leading. Now, if this continues and it's like 2 to 3 points and she's ahead by 4, then maybe things are different. And even still, if you look at, if we like, even here, if we go ahead and pull up, let's go ahead and pull up one of these national polls so we can go ahead and look at this. Let's see if CBS has their crosstabs open. Nope, they do not. All the liberal pollsters, you have to like purchase their crosstabs. It's like kind of annoying. But let me see, because I saw a national poll that the sample was like D+5. There's no way the national environment's going to be D+5. That's literally not going to happen. Even in 2012, we didn't have that. 2008, the electorate, it didn't show in the exit polls, but it was probably like D+3, D+4. So doesn't really make any sense. Jason Myers, Trump support is local. It's not what I said. I was talking about the VP candidates. But a lot of these now samples have been oversampling Democrats. And I would know because I've been polling too. When we did our first poll after Biden dropped out, it was like 45% Democrat and like 20 something percent Republican, and the rest were independent. That's obviously not going to happen. So when we weight it properly by party, you end up getting a Trump victory of a couple points in the popular vote. The problem is that the pollsters that want her to win, they're obviously not going to weigh their polls exactly properly by party ID, and they're going to get results that are skewed towards her. I'm expecting the electorate to be R+3, R+2 on election day. And if Trump wins independence, the popular vote can be anywhere upwards of 4 to 6 points for Trump, which at that point, states like Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Maine, and Nebraska would probably all be competitive. Virginia probably isn't going to flip to Trump this cycle. Like, if you kind of had to look at a couple states that are more than likely not going to flip for Trump, it's probably all of those. Now, things could change in Virginia. Maybe her favorables get worse. Maybe the national environment shifts a little bit. Maybe the favorable differences kind of start expanding for Trump. But as of right now, I wouldn't really even tell him to necessarily go to Virginia. It is going to probably be within 5, but I don't really think that that is a smart place for him to go. I think Minnesota he could go to. I think New Mexico he could go to. He'll probably win Nebraska second. And I think with New Hampshire and Maine, I'd actually even tell him to go to New Hampshire here and there because I think he can actually win New Hampshire. I wouldn't even tell him to worry about Maine, to be honest. I think he could give the Democrats that one. I don't really wouldn't tell him to go there. Same thing for New Hampshire, to be honest. He could go there once to test the waters, kind of like what he did with New Jersey and Minnesota. I honestly wouldn't even tell him to go to Minnesota either. I think the one that he could really go to is probably New Mexico just because of how right it's trending and the fact that the nationwide shift is going to be over a couple of points. And so I actually would tell him to go to New Mexico. Michigan for sure, I would tell him to go to. I would tell him to go to Georgia, and I would tell him to go to Nebraska as well. And you clearly see that as of right now, Donald Trump would still be winning the Electoral College fairly easily. But even with the current projection, even with Harris having such a sugar high moment in her campaign right now, you have Donald Trump still very easily winning the Electoral College. And I like having the model because it kind of removes as most bias as humanly possible. And I spend a lot of time working on it, trying to make sure it's as accurate as humanly possible. And in 2020, it really wasn't that off. It was literally off by like basically, I think like 2 or 3 states essentially. It really wasn't that off. And so that's why I like putting a lot of stock into this. And we'll see what I'm going to have to fix on election day. And again, I'm not projecting into the future. This is what the data currently would show right now, what would happen on the actual day. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to end it off here, guys. This was just merely for us to look at the electoral map. If there was like more news and stuff, we'd be going over that. But make sure to go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you guys want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next live stream. Everybody have a great rest of your night.